All right. It's me and a bunch of letters tonight because no one's camera's working after the Days of Beckoning. And yes, I know I have the Days of Beckoning symbol still up. I don't have another graphic right now. They are incoming, but we're talking about the post Days of Beckoning. We've got Alex Miller, the letter A. Not Kenny stole your camera. Well, I heard the Alpha box got stolen from him, so now he's just out there stealing everything. So there's a lot of movement on that. I heard you got roped into his little schemes. And we have Eric L walking away with a little bit heavier pockets. How about some good old Canadian dollars, eh, Eric? You like those? Eric's camera is broken, so yeah, it's me and the letters tonight. Hopefully, everyone is okay with that because I got nothing else. Yeah, no kidding. Oh yeah, you got American Thanksgiving's coming up, right? No sound other than Will. That's not true. Hello. Did we lose? Uh-oh. Okay, calm down. Why? Device not connected. That is false. How about now? Try this now. Talk now.
Hello.
Hey, we've got voices. Hopefully, someone in the chat sign off if you can hear Eric and Alex.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
We have to wait for the delay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we got both. All right, there we go. So
Man,
not only
so
was it
prizes?
just me on camera, it was also just my voice and a bunch of letters with boxes that were blinking yellow. Ben, I texted you. Why are you on here and not on this video? Ben, get in here. Ben, I am sending you a link. Grumpy old Ben. Not following instructions. All right, yeah. So post Days of Beckoning. How are we all feeling?
I feel great. A little tired. Actually, one thing I was thinking about was at the Compete Sport event, I was interviewed by George and Jordan, Skinny Skeleton, and so I was recorded saying that I think that the champion that's going to win is one of the broken S tier champions, i.e., Nubia, Idiris, or Kunn, with a twist based on origins. And it looks like I was proven right. So even though I lost, I was proven right. So that means that I won.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
That was also my bit to say, but thanks for stealing my thunder, Eric. It's great. Good. I also had called it was going to be a matchup. So I had guessed new champion would have been Cato and old champion would have been Nubia. And it turns out it was both in the finals. So
now, to be fair, Cato's a lot of Catos got in there.
Right? Let's talk about that since you're talking
whose
about
fault
it.
is that? Who would just make something like Cato?
All right.
And just put it in the championship like that.
So when Origins was first launched, there was, an outcry of, well, I think blue and red will be busted.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
But then we didn't see much blue and red getting played early on, right? There was some, like people like to play the Korean, people tried that. But then it seemed to be a shift from Korean to Cato.
Yeah. So, I mean, in my opinion, Korean is the more interesting kind of build around champion, while Cato is just like the overall stronger champion.
Right.
So Cato doesn't like make my brain go on fire with deck building ideas. You just kind of put really good cards in your deck and then
just
have a
jam
strong
them.
champion.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Like just tigers and lions and
bears.
and
Oh my.
chairs and chairs. Oh my. And
chairs.
and you know, and it worked out pretty well. But green, you had to like actually like think about all the different possibilities and time your readjust properly and you know when to go in and out. So it's a little bit harder.
Okay.
Wow. So speaking for you, Eric, I actually had a championship deck, and Will had to face it many times. He didn't beat it once. It was a Kyurem deck.
Okay, so let me see it.
Let's see it.
That's good too.
I can pull it up. Actually, I can pull it up. We can pull up Alex's would have been championship deck if he was allowed to play.
Mm-hmm.
Now that being said, the matchup that I expected to be bad was the Tiger matchup.
Yeah.
It was anti-meta. It was the anti-meta deck. So it was destroy all the burst damage decks. Was essentially its main focus.
But this was our conversation before, leading up to it, was like I was like, how many bursts were really going to be there versus how many tigers? And turns out it was all bursts and all tigers.
and then the winner countered both of those. So
yes. It was also a deck that Alex and I had been toying with, but it was just too late. So first piece of advice: don't build your deck. Or don't try to build decks the week before, because you just get scatterbrained and you just think everything could work and then nothing works and then everything works and then nothing works. It's this endless cycle. So I had to fall back on what I knew and what I knew I could run well. But the Angel deck was definitely something that was in the woodwork for potential like rogue deck to come back, right? Like to sort of.
Well, there was a card that me and you, Will, were definitely leaning on, and that was in the Angel deck, right?
Yeah.
Was the protective, what's it called?
Barrier.
Protective barrier, yeah.
Yeah, protective barrier. In our testing, we're like, this is the secret formula that nobody's playing.
Well, it really is. Like it's one of these things where it's like you just need to have the right timeline that allows you to go off on, and it's such a strong card, right? Like and there's I learned something really important from Shahan at Sushi the other on Friday night, was that 2 is less than 5 damage. So taking 2 health is a lot less than taking 5 or 6 damage from like a FireGasm or something else, while also saving your big thing. But to your point, Alex, you also have been sort of, trumpeting or leading this charge of playing a defensive deck.
Yeah, but not enough defensive cards being played, and I think that proved that a good defensive card can win it.
Right, but not even that. It's a good defensive card with a way to win, right? It's not just the defenses. Oh my gosh, everything's disappeared. Of course, the way I have it all set up here, I'm the only one with a camera, and the Fate Weaver is sitting over top of my face. This is
better that way.
Oh, thanks, Ben. All right, Ben, you're on for a specific reason.
All right.
Oh no.
Yeah, you
do you
watched the stream.
I watched the whole thing both days.
There you go. So tell us about that. What did you think?
It was fantastic.
While I struggled to get this picture. Jeez.
Being home was not fantastic, but watching it was fantastic. The coverage was good. The play was interesting. It was interesting to see that we had a lot of what we thought we'd have there. And it was actually, I thought we'd have a little more Tashir, which is what I was planning on bringing, that we didn't see. So that was a real shock to me. And I thought Idiris would go further. But
you can point Will for that.
Idris, I think there's not enough Idris. I want to call them champions, but players. When it comes to top tier Idris players, I think nowadays there's just the one pushing it.
Yeah. Which one is that? Damian or Jason?
Well, I would say Jason. I think Damian has his own Idris style. I think it's a separate type of thing.
Damian's in the chat, so we're not picking on him. We're just.
Oh, well, then I'll pick on him. Oh, Damian. Did you guys know that Damian made a deal with me?
A deal with
if he could get second place, he could become a designer.
Wow.
Wow.
That was a lot of pressure, Damian, you put on yourself.
Damn.
No wonder he was sweating the night before day 2, facing
So
me first.
How worried were you about that?
The matchup?
No, that Damian was gonna get second.
Oh, Damian and Jason have both been playing for a long time, right? They are both very good players.
Yeah, Damian beat me, in fact, in the Swiss.
In the Swiss?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my one loss in the Swiss.
Interesting that Idiris was able to beat Cato in the Swiss just because they can get so much damage in early.
Yeah, no, just very close games. Played well, and and one thing I realized is watching my games is how many mistakes I made. It was just like I was blown away by how many different mistakes, and it's just like it could be playing the wrong card, moving the wrong space, or swapping someone in the wrong space, and there's so many like minor decisions that you can make throughout the game that add up. I made so many of them, but
so for anyone watching, Alex's Korean deck's on the board there. It's pretty boring. You just stand there, let them waste all their resources, and then you capitalize. It's very Alexy.
I mean, playing good cards.
So all right, so we've had some players who've been playing for a long time, and they've some very familiar names in the top 16, a lot of familiar names in the top 8, but then by the time we got to the top 4, it was all new players other than Yan, right? It was Eric, Ray, Ollie, and Yan in the top.
Sid likes to call it that we had one person from each category. So Yan, he considers the old guard. We had Ray, who was a brand new player. Which is good. He's been there for quite a bit. Ray, who was a brand new player. We had Lip, who was from Germany, and we had Eric, who was from the States.
There we go.
That's interesting, yeah.
Okay, first of all, Eric is a fantastic card player, right? So let's give him kudos because he's on the stream. Make him feel awkward, even though we can't see his face. You agree with that statement? Good. Ray is also phenomenal. The way he approaches the game with a level of professionalism that I don't think we've actually seen yet. And I mean, it was difficult for me in that match against him because I knew I was already lost.
Yeah, I could see you stressing. I was watching. I was right in front of him. I was judging their match. Will was stressing.
I was dead. I was as soon as he double moved, I knew he had 2 tigers, and I looked at my hand and I was like, I either taking 6 damage and doing nothing, or I'm delaying until I can get something else out. But the double move with Cato gave away that he had the 2 tigers, and he had the 2 tigers. The second game, I was like, I gotta play out. I'm gonna assume he has 2 tigers again. I'm gonna play out going first, hopefully get it, and I have to dodge the double Chrono Tsunami, and he had the double Chrono Tsunami.
That was an unlucky
for sure.
hand.
It was 2 perfect hands, right? 3 tigers and a couple Chronos plus. I think he also followed up with a Baruch after that Tsunami, right? So it was like double Chrono, Tsunami, Baruch, and I'm like, sure, bud, just you got it. And in reflection, I mean, I'm proud that I took a non-blue deck as far as I did.
Yeah,
it was nice to see. Yeah,
is that the only non-blue deck in the top 8?
Yeah.
Congrats.
However, I think I have to give up the cause, and if I want to win this thing, I have to play blue.
Points for style, though.
Yeah, what are those points worth, though?
Bragging rights. Do you feel that there was a lot more pressure on the old guard in this, as opposed to all the new guys coming in?
I didn't feel any pressure.
No.
I was impressed.
Was that a factor for others?
Germans. I was impressed with the German team. I was impressed with our American friends who came up, like Eric, has always impressed me because we've played a lot in Future League. I was super impressed with Ray, and his approach.
Just shout out to Connor and Joe.
Connor with piloting, Connor has been doing the same deck for a long time, and he's gotten really, really good at it. 4 non-blue in the top 16. Right, 4 non-blue in the top 16, but I think it was only 1 in the top 8, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I also, on the point of Ray, I actually, partially copied his deck. I had a Cato deck that was all in on the Bimant and chairs, and then I saw his deck and was like, all right, let's do that. So I went down Epiphanies, I went down Dedicated Studies, and so went up Tigers, and that made my deck wildly more consistent. Right? Like I had the 3 Dedicated Studies, and it was.
But let's actually talk about consistency though. Is it the Tigers that are making it consistent, or is it the Chronos and the Dedicated Studies?
I mean, I barely played my Dedicated Studies.
But when you did,
I remember I had my entire hand was less than 5 chi. I played Dedicated Studies, drew 2 Bimants.
Right?
Yeah.
Something interesting I noticed from Ray. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much you guys saw his games, but in every game except for Nubia games, he would sideboard out the Epiphanies.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he mentioned that after our game, and I was like, "That's probably the smartest thing you can do."
Yeah.
I think he was leveraging it for game 1, right?
Yeah.
Come in game 1, if you pull the Epiphanies, you almost have a guaranteed win. And then you take them out and you bring in the more consistent gameplay once you know what your opponent's doing. I think it's like, this is what I'm saying. Like, I think Ray just brings the level of gameplay up. And I don't think I've really seen him play other than the Dragon World and then this one, which we're 1-for-1 now against each other. But he's the kind of player that I hope we see more of. But that's all. I mean, he's not on, or else I'd pump him up more. But hopefully, if he sees this, I appreciate you, Ray. As well as the Germans. And the Germans did exactly what they said they were going to do. They came in and they said they were going to win it, and they did. I was not expecting them to run the Angel deck, though. I thought that was something you and I had sort of found that sort of loophole, but they were right on it, which means maybe we're losing it, or maybe I'm losing a step. I know you'll never admit it, Alex, but...
What? I've lost my mind a long time ago. You're just coming with me for a ride, Will.
Ben, how was it on the stream? What do you tell us some stuff. What do you think?
General experience. I really enjoyed the commentary, number one. And I found my wife was even sitting there watching most of it with me. Just, a little bit of humor and just kind of kept it going for her. Of course, I'm watching the play the entire time, but I think that was a really good way of bringing people that are not as familiar with the game into the game. So I'd love to see more of that in the future. Mm-hmm. I think that was a really smart move. The only thing that really annoyed me was the glare on the cards, but I think everything else that's hard to beat though, right?
I really don't know how you'd have to have.
It's so hard, yeah.
You'd have to have better lighting on those spots, and there was enough technical difficulties trying to figure out just how to get things running between the two rooms.
Absolutely, yeah. Again,
HCG and Alex, you know this. You were right there in the middle of it, scampered at the end to try to find a new location.
Mm-hmm. Well, the interesting thing is, right, this time we made all of that, right? It was just our webcams, setting up stuff with computers. Last time we had fancy camera crews and knew what they were doing.
Right.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was no complaints really. It was wonderful to sit there and watch it.
Sean brings up a point about, some people were mentioning how the Angel versus Cato matchup felt one-sided.
Yeah, I would agree.
It was a beating, I think. Yeah.
It was interesting that because, what was Ray's outs, so let's not specifically say Ray. Let's say Cato's outs in those matchups. I know, Eric, you're running the Bimants, which has the range damage. So you may have had a better shot against Angels.
And I did actually beat Ollie in the Swiss.
In Game
2, I won. The first game, complete blowout, I had 0 chance to win. And then games 2 and 3, I managed to draw both or 2 Bimants in each of those games and just protected them as hard as I could. Right, like
with
all
the
my
stone
resources.
protectors?
Yeah, Stone Protector is my Force Warps, my Life Photo, whatever I could to protect my Bimants. I did because I knew that was my like only shot at winning.
Was it that your only shot in the deck?
I think I have Tsunamis and I have Cato's attack.
So I want to throw this out. I want to see Alex's response and see your response too. But I was thinking about that matchup. What could have been in the sideboard that could have actually really hurt the Angel player in the long term, while not necessarily, it would be not necessarily hurting Cato, but having a tool that's not necessarily damage was a way.
I just think like for that matchup, a 7-chi summon probably that he could swap out that actually hits aerials.
Yep. Yeah.
But did you hear what I said?
That's
that
not
wasn't damage.
Away.
Yeah. Definitely.
Away.
They pump up their Angel. They pump in that extra aura into it, and then you away it. Yes, it goes back to hand, but they can't keep casting it forever.
Correct. Yeah.
It saves you a turn. It saves you a bit of time. But again, that's a iffy play, right?
Yeah. So I was actually thinking about that. If I was preparing for Angels, I had 8 3-chis, and I could have easily slotted in like 4 to 6 of those like 3-chi 2 damage
casters.
Summons.
Yeah.
And I think because I had 4 Hardy Soups, I didn't need a Hardy Soups. I could have easily just played those summons, and those would have been pretty good because like they can try to chip down the Angels instead of me taking 18 damage to kill an Angel. Now I take 6 damage to kill an Angel, or 6 to 12 damage to kill an Angel if I wanted to, or they waste their attack on a 3-chi, which might be fine as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing.
And for myself, I was like, yeah, the Hellchasm was good in some situations, but I think upon reflection, I would have taken Wave of Death going into this championship.
Fair, for sure.
I mean, I had one deck that had it in its sideboard, but just those that ability to kill without sort of, even after they protect, right? Now my deck was running range summons, and Ollie and I had a really good, very close fight. He had spec'd a few cards in against me into his sideboard, which was a fun puzzle to figure out. But he brought the Zenith Pulses, which really messed with Suttir.
Yeah, those destroyed me too.
Oh, even on the Bimants, you felt it too?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a great little piece of tech, right, for an anti-summoner. Like if you're playing a Titan style, like big summon that you're protecting, and your opponent has a bunch of little summons that can hit that big thing, right? Take them all out or control where they can be. We have, does Revenge of the Phoenix work for Cato?
Sure.
But when they could just respond with their Holy Wall or it's still damage based, right?
Yeah, but I think in those type of scenarios, usually the Angel steps up to take out Cato. So you're not going to do it when they're in a Force Warp position.
No. Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, Nubia Angels, like, and not like the Storm Protector Angels, right? Like just a straight up Angels, Holy Wall, Protective Barrier with some Chronos and dedicated studies. So
yeah. And one thing I'd like to point out is the deck building aspect of that deck is they went all in on one concept and they didn't try to hedge anything. He's like, I'm not even adding in tsunamis. I'm literally going all in on protecting these Angels and playing them, and that's it. And I thought that was like a really interesting thing, and kind of maybe a lesson some people have where they're like, add a little bit of this, a little bit of that to try to hedge against all these different matchups. And it just dilutes your primary game plan, which is something you actually don't want to do.
Yeah, I didn't see too much of his sideboard. So for me, when we played, he brought in the Zenith Pulses, and I think he decided to do Zenith Pulse over Tsunami altogether. I'm not sure what else he had in his side.
All that I saw were the Zenith Pulses and a shutdown from his sideboard. That's all I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes, he did at one point take out an Angel to bring. Oh yeah, some shutdown. I think he had like an extra shutdown or extra pressure point or something. in there. Yeah. So yeah, it was very interesting. Ben, you couldn't make it out. You missed all the action.
Yeah, I decided I didn't want to get you sick, Will.
Oh, thanks. Oh no, here's Ray.
Oh, here we go.
We just
Welcome.
finished our Ray segment. What?
I know. We just finished pumping up Ray all this time. Okay, now wait, one second.
Hey.
Let me try to
Hey, Ray.
get this better.
Hey.
Keep talking, guys. I'm just bad at tech.
What I missed?
So Ray, were you expecting the Angels at all, or did it take you by surprise?
I was expecting them not to like the extent that Team Germany's Airforce 10. You know, I was practicing against I was mostly the past 3 weeks has just been like teaching a lot of new players how to play, and we were kind of just net decking like what's worked. So like we were mostly playing Idiris and Nubia matchups, and it's common for the Nubia, the Bolt Walker build to have, you know, like 4 to 5 angels in the sideboard. So like 4 to 5 angels you can deal with because you might see 1-2 a game, and like with like my Cato build, like you put in some tsunamis to help you take care of them, and like if it's just 1 angel, sometimes you can just force warp it away, and then if you hit when you hit the tigers, you can take it out. But like 10 angels and the protection spells is the huge part, right? So I think I feel like maybe in retrospect I kind of threw away game 1 too early. I should have, because I think like my strategy was always, you know, put the tsunamis in, and that will help you, but tsunamis didn't really even help in that matchup. So it might have just been the strategy would have been to run away and maybe come up with another strategy, wait to draw better cards, and then come back. But yeah, it is what it is. It's still a good matchup. They were definitely really well prepared.
Yeah. So I had was thinking about your matchup, and I was like looking at it, and I was wondering, and I'm glad you're here because you can give me your thoughts. What, like, I'm not sure. Well, the card away, like if they pump a whole bunch of aura into protecting their angel, and then you send it back to their hand, do you think that could have helped with that resource game? Like could you have gained some edge some way by sort of forcing them to always sort of have to repump out their aura, put all those angels out? Or is it just too fast?
It might have, but I think like if you in those games, he still had a decent amount of aura left by the time he killed me. So one away might not have been enough, right?
Might not have been enough.
Yeah.
Plus, you're playing an aura game against Nubia, which, you know.
No, I can give it. In those last 2 games, he's actually out of aura in both games.
The last 2?
Well, there was only 2 games with Ray, so yes, the last 2.
Right.
Yeah, and for my games as well, he was out of aura at the end there.
Yeah. So, but it's one less angel. I guess it is very relevant then.
It's relevant, but I don't know how much you can commit the 6G to your forethought.
That's fair.
When you're used to fighting bolt walkers, right?
Yep.
And Iblis decks.
Yeah, no, Ray has the important forethoughts of disenchants. Come on.
Disenchants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a thought, right? It's like, okay, well, maybe you could play he's dropping 25 and then pumping another 11 or another 17 into this angel, and then you send it back and you try to, you know, that's basically wasted aura. But other than that, like it's the tough one, right? Like the only kill spell we have right now are Purifying Waves or Wave of Death. Not either of those weren't really in your colors. So, any thoughts? Have you thought about that matchup since?
Yeah. So yeah, there is no board wipes or like at least destroy summons in available in blue or red. So that's what I was thinking about. Maybe if there was a board wipe that was blocked to blue and red colors, like the dual color one, so blue doesn't have access to it.
Don't make a board wipe in blue, please.
Yeah, exactly. Don't make one in blue, but if it's blue red, so like, you know, just those blue red heroes could use it. That could help.
Massive.
The other card I think is a snare. So snare, like maybe the answer is not to kill them. It's just to, you know, render them useless.
Yeah.
So,
snare was alright. I also like Stone Protectoring their angel instead of the board. Yeah,
Stone Protector I think is a very good solution too. I didn't put it in because I kind of I saw the other Stone Protector builds, especially I feel like for me my theory behind not playing Stone Protector was like it feels like a Stone Protector by itself doesn't really do anything, so it's kind of like a negative card in terms of card economy. So with Nubia, I think Stone Protector is really good because she has that extra draw every turn. But when you're playing Cato in that Nubia matchup, like it feels like you're down in a race because you're throwing away a card and Nubia's drawing 2 every turn. So but in that matchup, it might have been the key, especially if he dropped the Angels and he was playing it very safe, right? So I could have probably bought a few turns to just drop some cards to build up my hand.
Your hand,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
it's a hard read.
You're sort of right. You're sort of right in that it's not the best card, but even a Earthling Lion on Stone Protector is great. But if you can get a Bimant on Stone Protector, that's so huge in that matchup, right? Like you don't have the snares, you don't have any way of locking it down. So if you can like just have your Bimant just on the Stone Protector and they can't do anything about it, then you're like up, and that's probably why I won in the Swiss, right? So I think you're sort of right in that in the matchup it's not good until it's on the Bimant, and then it's then it can win you the game right there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like by itself is not good, but combine something like the Bimant is really.
But I really like being able to like force warp something onto the Stone Protector, whether it be your own summon, your opponent's summon, or whatever it is, or just like surrounding my opponent with summons and then jumping on the Protector and then running away. That also was good as well. So I feel like Cato does because of that force warp, like can really use that Protector even if you're not comboing it with Bimant really well.
Yeah, it has a lot of utility with the amount of board control that you have, or positioning control that you have with Cato.
So was Cato your first champion you went with, or is it sort of the one that you just gravitated towards after playing some different ones?
So I actually started playing like a year ago at where I found out about the game like 2 days before the championship last year, and me and my friend we bought like 5 or 6 boxes of J2.
Oh wow!
Made an Idiris and Nubia deck.
Nice.
We showed up to it. We went into round 2. I think I had a double draw, and my friend went 1-1. So we actually had we had a Flesh and Blood tournament that day. So
you were there. You were at the championship.
Yeah, I was there. Really? I actually played against Steve-O in the second round.
I didn't know that. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, we were there, but after that we kind of took we didn't we couldn't find any other players to play the game with us, so we lost a bit of interest. And when I saw the Dragon World circuit coming up, I decided to pick it up again. I was following along, like I backed the Kickstarter, and I subscribed to the Patreon to get access to some cards like Pressure Point that I knew if I wanted to pick the game up again, I would need access to cards like that. So I was just following along, and then so after Oranges came out, I really liked the concept of Red Blue. So I wanted to put together Red Blue hero. The first hero I actually tried it out with was green. So the original Tiger deck that I built was with green. And then before actually the morning of Dragon World, I switched to Cato because I thought in a longer tournament the more aura would be relevant. And then during that Dragon World circuit, I discovered how powerful Force Warp was.
And then you just never look back, right? Like that's that ability.
Exactly.
Well, that's great. I'm not sure if you were watching or if you caught along, but I wanted to say that I think that you are a phenomenal player, and I think that you have really elevated the skill of what how to play the game and how to see the game and pick it apart. Granted, in my mind it was a little bit shorter time that you've been playing, but you've been playing for a little bit longer. Doesn't matter. I'm just really happy that you're part of the community, and I hope that you do stick around and you continue to play because I think you really can elevate the players around you. So
thanks.
But yeah, it was really awesome. I just wish I could have given you a better match in top 8. It was pretty rough hands for me, and you had some pretty nice ones. So it's still good though. All right, so where do we go from here? Like, what do we do? Is it Cato's world? Is it Angels? Is it just was that just a flash in the pan for the Angels, or do we see people shift towards that? What are we thinking? What are we looking at? Nothing. Okay.
I think the meta is still so shifting.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Angel Sec is very attackable. It just kind of came out of nowhere. So yeah, I do think it's pretty wide open. I still can't believe no one played this year. But
Yeah.
there were some
There was
Tashirs.
one, right?
There were a few
There was one.
Tashirs there, but they didn't. I'm not sure if they had. I'm not sure what their builds looked like, but I know that the one Tashir was running Purifying Waves, but never came up against an Angel deck. So
yeah, I know that my meta is going to look like Cutanius and Harlequin and the other one.
Yes, the Future League meta. Yes.
Yeah,
I think I'm a Sage player now after seeing those.
Ray, how about you? You're gonna stick with Cato, or you're gonna try somebody else for a bit, or?
Yeah, I think I've had enough of Cato for a bit. I played against a Shun deck in Swiss. It looked pretty interesting. I might try that out. I think it's
Nice. Yeah, there was a Shun there.
There was.
There was.
I didn't
Yep.
see that.
There was. I didn't see any Maliks. I didn't see any Longs. I didn't see any Fongs. I didn't see any. I saw there was a couple cores.
Quick, Sheehan, just the champ breakdown, quick.
Yeah, for all 46 of them. But yeah, I don't know. It was very interesting to see, and I mean, top 4 was all blue. Top 8 was 1 not blue, and then what did we say? Top 16 was there was 4.
12 blue.
12 blue.
7 Nubia.
So yeah, blue. I guess
all champions are yellow blue.
All the all the winners of championship are yellow and blue. Yes.
Yeah.
And each of them have 1 now, right? We had a Raha, we followed by a Kunn, and then now a Nubia.
So not next year.
So Alex, what are you gonna do about that?
I don't know. Let's talk about it. So, because I haven't think about it. All right. How do you guys feel about Corneau Walker? I want your personal opinion. We'll start with Will last because we already know his opinion. Ray, do you think Corneau Walker's too strong?
Yeah, I think it's too. So I think it is too strong, but it's not. I wouldn't call it busted. I feel like maybe it is a lot of value for 6G, but like there's just so many like strategic play patterns with it that I think it's actually good for the game at a strategic level, at a high level. So like it really rewards like players that are to think about positioning. Like I feel like Corneau Walker is a card that makes you play good Genesis, where like positioning and board state matters, and just like the versatility it provides, just like makes a lot of lines open rather than linear gameplay.
Yeah,
for sure. Eric.
All right, my completely unbiased opinion about Corneau Walker is they're completely fair and balanced. I don't see the problem here. But okay, for a serious answer, no, I think I actually really agree with you. It is an overpowered card that does way too much. The decoy does like way too many things, right? And I don't understand why Will would want to flip the table when from a cog restrict or whatever the story is. But it's also like a very skill testing card. I remember playing against Connor and we had like a 10 plus thing stacked, and he's like, I love this game. And it was like Corneau Walkers were a part of it. There was like force swerves and bolt shots and all this stuff. So it does lead to very crazy stacks and board states and complicated game states that do allow better players to excel. So I wouldn't want Corneau Walker necessarily banned, but if this was a digital game, have it nerfed in some way. That would be my preferred take. Obviously, you can't really do that in a physical card game that well, but something like that.
I will sneak into everybody's house and draw on every single Corneau Walker, changing the text.
Change it.
Well, Alex, you're the one. You're the best one to ask, right? Like, what if Corneau Walker, the way it's written, what it does today, where would it actually be? Would it still be a 3/6? Would it still be a 6G?
I think it would be if I without me looking at any out the formula, I think it could be built. It'd probably be a 3/4 is where I would expect it to be at a 6G with that same aura. That's my prediction.
or at a
Okay, so you
7 chi
think
or
just-
higher, it would be
So
something
just
similar.
a 2 health lower, you think it's fine?
No, I'm just saying if I'm predicting what the formula would tell me if I was building it to try to match how much it costs right now, that's where I think it would be to be on target.
So this person named John Rayner says it would be a 34 aura at its current.
Yeah, that's the other way too. You could also or its aura would be way more, right? The opposite view.
The pump its aura up. Ben, what was your opinion there?
I love Chrono Walker. Everything that has been said previously, I think, is absolutely true. It's overpowered for the cost, but I love it because it makes the game interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You can really play with things. In fact, I think the first time I really got a feeling for the game and how it could be played is when I finally understood how Chrono Walker worked. And then it all came together, like with the stack and the positioning. And it's such a fun card to play. I'd never want to see it banned. But yeah, I think it should be costed a bit higher. I don't think it's like crazy broken, but it's too cheap.
Yeah.
When we were doing the pre-champ gauntlet, I remember Jan saying, the better you get at the game, the more you realize how busted Chrono Walker is, or the stronger you realize Chrono Walker is.
Yeah.
You start seeing lines that just no other or champions not in blue just don't have, right?
Well, it rewards good play. It rewards good play. Seeing things.
As much as I hate Chrono Walker and some of the instances in my time with Genesis, it's more just looking at Chrono Walker was an alpha card that I don't think got the testing that it needed back in that day, right? There just wasn't enough testers or people who were looking at the game at that type of level, because there's a lot of cards that use the word target way too much that Chrono can just manipulate how that functions. And so it's not so much that Chrono Walker, like, yes, a 3/6 body at Swift Beckon is strong. It's more so how it works with the word target and how it can change and really completely, mess with a lot of things. Yes, I agree with everyone saying that is interesting and it makes for very interactive games. But maybe it is a costing thing. Maybe it's a deck building restriction. I don't know what it is, but it is definitely it's interesting how many Chronos were being played this weekend, right?
All right. What's more broken? You have to choose one: Chrono Walker or Epiphany. Ray, go ahead.
I don't think Epiphany's busted at all.
Right.
I think Chrono Walker is definitely 100% more busted than Epiphany.
Eric?
I think without dedicated studies, Epiphany wouldn't be as broken, but with dedicated studies, a combination of two makes them both kind of busted. And I think the reason why Ray said Epiphany isn't busted is because it's restricted, right? If it was unrestricted, you might be saying Epiphany is more busted.
I don't think the restriction matters on Epiphany, because like if you run more than 4 copies, like your deck is. I don't know. This is in my experience so far, or like
that's it. Boom. Yeah.
Ray was missing for half a year, guys. So he had experience in the middle part.
Like were people playing more than 4 copies of Epiphany? Like, what are you trying?
There's OTK there. There was OTK there.
I remember 12, 14 copies or something. Those are the dates.
So Ray, it was 14 copies of Epiphany. Your win con was Wind Slash and an Air Pillar.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Epiphany's. Okay.
You just got enough. You dropped the Air Pillar. You came in and you just went you just sort of spammed Air Pillar. Any response, you always had more Wind Slashes than they had responses, and so your Wind Slashes were 3 damage 4 chi cards, which cost almost next to nothing. And then
that makes sense. I didn't think of it. Yeah, but just draw your entire deck.
But
when your win con is on the lower end, then Epiphany gets super busted, right? Like if you can win with a 3 chi, like Eric did in Future League back before the Rabbit got changed, like you could win with a 3 chi card, then Epiphany, drawing all your low end because your low end is how you're winning, became very one-sided. But I like what you said, like in your experience, and I think this is the key that sometimes gets missed in the Epiphany argument, is that it is the player experience that happens to feel bad with Epiphany, because when you pull it, you're just like you're just going over the top on winning, right? But if you don't pull it, you're like, well, my deck does nothing because I don't have the Epiphany, right? Not saying all Epiphany decks, but some tends to feel that way. But yeah, I like that. Ben,
how did you feel Epiphany performed in your matches, Ray?
Oh,
So it was so actually I played Yan in Swiss, and I actually lost game 1 in that game. We drew, but I lost game 1 because of Epiphany. Not because because like game 1 became a very, very much a resource game. I think because like the thing is, after the second Epiphany, it's really hard to play. The third one is like the worst Epiphany because it will sometimes you're forced to play it because you don't have enough options, and it like late in the mid to late game, Epiphany actually just says pay 10 aura and 3 energy to do nothing.
wow.
True. That's true.
That's very true.
So that's why I think it's balanced. And then like another part is just like because I play a lot of other TCGs, and sometimes you just need to accept that variance as a factor. And there are cards that you would just high roll through, and like because the Epiphany, the way the game works, where your deck size is like a resource, and the 10 like the amount of aura you start is finite. It kind of is a bit balanced, but yeah, there are games where you just open it round 1 and you draw like 3/7 cheese off of it, and you can win like that. But
well, yeah, I think some of the like I know I think it was Chris, I want to say, had a little more experience with the Nubia than Neil, at least from when I was talking to them. But because Chris would just play it and he would just like he knew exactly what he was doing with it, and then when he would stop, when he would start. And there, like I remember one game, like I looked over and he had like must have had 15 cards in his hand. I was like, you have like over a third of your deck. Like there's just no way I can get through all of those options, right? But yeah.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I wanted to say about this Epiphany versus Chrono Walker argument is that like from a health of the game standpoint, playing against someone that plays an Epiphany or 2 on turn 1 just feels absolutely terrible. Yeah. Like Chrono Walker doesn't feel necessarily as bad. Maybe Sid felt bad when I top decked the Chrono Walker to win in the top 8.
He did.
sorry, Sid. But that's not necessarily as bad as seeing someone just go turn 1 Epiphany, all right, and then the opponent's just like, all right, I give up, and then so that's just like kind of another like feel bad / health of the game aspect that I'm also interested in.
Ray, you had something you wanted to say.
I think it left my mind.
Oh, okay, no worries. Yeah, I think for me, I mean, as much as I have this sort of anti-Epiphany, which again I'm more on the health of the game side of things. Yeah, I would probably go with the with Epiphany. Like the Chrono Walker, I think just adds that level of skill that we want to try to achieve. And you have to, yes, there are games where sure your opponent can have 2 or 3 Chrono Walkers in their hand, and you just can't get through that. But there are other ways to, if you didn't have Chrono Walker, there are so many other cards that would just go way up in value and way up in power, because there would be no defense, right? Chrono Walker is kind of holding some other cards, sort of at bay, kind of thing. But
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna throw a third thing into the debate: Chrono Walker, Epiphany, or Nubia's Vision. Which one's more broken?
Nubia's Vision.
No cost every round.
Yeah, I agree.
Are you suggesting taking Nubia and just like banning her?
Who says I'm suggesting anything? Just one, no opinion.
Oh, that's what I was inferring from their question.
Ben, we haven't heard from you. What do you think?
I think like I looked at things a little more casually too, because I've been teaching people lately. So I know like Epiphany's broken, I think. I don't really think it's as bad as Chrono Walker, and normally that's because I can never get an Epiphany when I need one. So that's just anecdotal.
Personal experience.
Right. But Chrono Walker, It is so consistently good. Like if you draw it, you have a use for it. It's always useful in your hand, almost always, right? Where Epiphany, you have to get 1 of 4 to get use out of it, right? And if you don't, otherwise you need to have dead studies or something else to help you out to find it. But that being said, for the new players, when they're playing and they draw an Epiphany, they enjoy that because all of a sudden they have choices. And there's elements to this game where casual people play as well. The Corneau appeals more to better players, I would say. But the Epiphany's fun.
Skill, yeah.
And also Nubia is one of the first champions I give to new players. Just because it's easy to play.
And more options.
You get 2 cards every round, right? That's all you have to know. So that's
all right. We had a comment in the chat. Ready for this, Alex? Put Nubia's vision back to trigger.
Yeah,
some people here may not remember that, but Nubia originally was a triggered ability and it was changed to an immediate. Because what happened was if you were in a position around Nubia, she had no chance, but that trigger had to go to the stack, which opened the stack up for responses right away.
I'd like to try a game like that. I never played it like that.
It's more cumbersome than beneficial in the game.
Yeah. As much as I don't like Nubia, I don't like the idea of having any champions beginning round / turn effect. Yeah, that just feels like a feels bad type thing.
Well, that's what happened with Kunn, right? Kunn was the one that really actually started, and then Nubia also, because Nubia versus Nubia is really weird when it's both triggers. But
I think what that feels for your... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think what the audience is trying to say is that there's precedence for Nubia being changed in the past, so she could be changed in the future.
Yeah.
All right. You heard it here first.
All right. We have a few minutes left. I'm not sure how much time, Ben, you got to see the new champions. They were flashed up on the screen, weren't they, when you were watching?
Yeah.
And Ray, you were pretty focused that day. I'm not sure how much you got a chance. I think you grabbed a picture though, right?
Yeah. Okay. I skipped to the video after.
Nice. All right. So of the 3 that were spoiled, we had Proteus, Harlequin, and Catanius.
Yeah, Catanius.
Catanius. All right. So all green, right? And I had made a post earlier today saying that these 3 are probably 3 of the best Phage champions that could really sort of push Phage into the meta with their abilities. Very good summoner, very good flexible hands, very good flexible gameplay, like each turn having a choice. But more so just not looking to, very competitive. But of the 3, which one did you like and which one did you sort of like, ooh, I'm not sure about that? Let's go with Ben.
I like the idea of pulling cards into my deck.
A little bit of like a mulligan type.
Oh, yeah.
Catanius pulling the cards in.
Yeah.
Cool.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Eric?
I mean, I'm on the opposite side of that. I really don't like the extreme consistency that you can add to that, because it allows you to just play a bunch of one-ofs in your sideboard, and it allows you to like play this hyper consistent game plan where you can always hit the exact thing you want.
But it's only the first round, right? But it's each first round, I think is your point, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if there's say a very powerful enchantment that's at a higher G, but you don't want to, they don't stack or something like that. That could you always start with that, or
Yep. So, turn 1 dense fog every game.
Exactly. No, exactly. And that's actually basically my point, right? Is that you have like a bunch of these one-offs that don't really hurt your forethoughts that much. And so yeah, and then you also have that forethoughts too. So if it's for casual players, that like even me, I have a bunch of like paper decks that I haven't built forethoughts for, because they're just for fun.
Right.
So now you have to build a forethoughts.
It's all about teaching new players about forethoughts.
Yeah, Catanius. It's the teaching champion.
Just throw them in the deep end.
yeah, exactly. So I'm a little hesitant about that one. But the other 2, I actually do like. I think
you liked Harlequin and you liked Proteus.
Yeah.
Ray, how would you get a chance to think about
Yeah,
them?
yeah. I read through them. I think Cutaneous is interesting because it
Hmm.
kind of brings like the concept of a wish board
Yeah.
to Genesis. But I feel like it might not be that great because it's just on the first round and it has to be the same chi, right? So you still
It's still
like
dependent on your draw.
yeah, exactly. And if you look at like the top decks right now, if they're playing like if they're hinting like my deck is like the only 7 chi I ran was Tigers in the main board. So like what other 7 chi would I if that's the 7 chi you want, you would just play all of them, right? Unless it's
Interesting.
suited for that matchup, which is
Hmm.
where it's supposed to come up, I guess. But the hero I actually like the most is Proteus because
Hmm.
I think his ability is kind of like visions. It's called vision, but it's kind of like Nubia's visions with
Right.
that I think is more balanced because pretty much doing a scry 1 and then drawing is arguably better than drawing 2 because you're saving on energy that way and you could put 3 keys to the bottom. But the resource is a lot less and it costs 1 life every time. So I
But
think
we
it's more
have
balanced.
cards that can benefit from that 1 life, right? So we have, like, I'm not sure if you got a chance to play Alex, but the deck that Alex had built, was sort of, if I'm going to lose 1 life, I'm going to put an aura break on, get that early, and then now I'm gaining a lot more aura. So it kind of pumps up that amount of aura, that difference, like you're saying, right? Between like Nubia versus Proteus. So I think there's ways to utilize that 1 life. I like the flexibility. You can go into the damage if you know, like, okay, I have nothing else to do. I'm just going to hit for 3, right? That could be really important. That scry 1, you're not even losing it. It's going to the bottom of the deck, so it's not like you don't have to discard it. It's still energy. It's just you get now a choice, right? I think you hit the I think you nailed it there with your take. Alex, which one did you like?
Proteus, hands down. Now, the weird part though about the deck was a part of that deck was built to gain that 1 life back that you were going to lose, which is weird in a sense. It's the Shun complex, which that is not built into Shun. So I just had a couple cards that gave me a little life here and there. Just kept stepping on the river knees.
Which one was the game against me? Yeah. When we played, I had 4 cards in the deck, and Alex was at 3, and ended up drawing the river knee in the last turn of the game.
Yeah, I forgot. One of us was gonna die. One of us was gonna deck out, and I top decked the river knee. So I top deck a river knee. I had to play a summon and warp strike to get onto it on that very last turn.
to save your life.
Yeah. And I was trapped in the corner because I had played 2 FireGasms and basically stuck myself in the corner. I couldn't leave.
I like Proteus. As another green-blue option. I'm mostly concerned because I am a huge fan of Erica and I've played a lot of Erica. It feels like Harlequin just makes Erica useless because Harlequin gets a free summon off of a summon, whereas Erica has to pay more to get a 2/2 than an actual 2/2 costs. I don't know if that's just a shift in design or if that's just how where Genesis is headed, but definitely feels like pretty much like a rewrite of what a summoner or a free summon off of a summon would be, right? So,
I mean, how strong do you think Erica is, right? Like, if she's not that strong, which I don't think she is, then is it that bad that there's a stronger version, quote unquote, of her?
No, that's totally fair. I don't know. I don't know what Erica would have done against a bunch of Nubias and Catos. That's maybe something to test and see. It's only 3 health difference.
She would have just died.
I have one last question before we end the stream. You may not know the answer, but Ray, I have a question for you because it's about one of your teammates. Now, why was there a tacky psyche in John's thoughts?
It was in his main board.
It was in his main board. That's even
worse. So what happened was my brother Brandon Chow also was playing. He was the one who came up with the Iblis idea with the breaks and stacks, And then we had a couple games where, you know, you could just run away from Iblis. If you don't attack them, they don't get the Beckon breaks. And then it just becomes a matter of who decks out first. So,
Yes.
So like you're gonna see your whole deck, right? So you just put a card back on top and then you just especially in the mirror match. The mirror match comes down to who has more tacky sex in their deck.
Wow. Look at that depth of gameplay there. Wow.
Yeah, it was big brain.
Oh, geez.
All right. Well, yeah, it's getting it's after 8:00. So, I mean, thank you once again, Ray, Eric, Ben, for joining the letter A and I tonight for on stream. And yeah, I'm super excited to see where Genesis goes, right? Like, this has been the biggest gathering of players, and it just keeps growing, right? And I think if we can keep the steady growth, if we can find people like Ray and like Eric in their respective places and bringing people in, I think we can have an awesome community with a really, really strong competitive format. And yeah, I mean, even like there wasn't hard feelings, there wasn't like, you know, beef, there wasn't any like sort of drama. It was just sort of like, yeah, we're playing this game that we all love, and we, you know, at the end of the day, you know, the best deck won, or, you know, best hand won, or whatever you want to say. But it was just a lot. And I think having the Magic historian and his, I watched this video after he left, and he was just in awe at how, you know, people were just comfortable and happy to be there, right? There wasn't like this, like, there wasn't, you know, yeah, ill feelings. I mean, I'm sure that will come eventually. That's bigger communities, right? You get a lot more personalities in, sometimes they conflict. But yeah, it was a really awesome weekend, and I was glad to meet you in person, Eric.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome, and that was a great sushi place too.
Yeah, it was good sushi on Friday night. Yeah, and Ray, I mean, hopefully, I'm sure we'll cross paths again soon. And Ben, if you ever decide to come, you know, back to civilization down in the south,
one day.
And to all the people in the chat too, right? Like, if you were watching in the stream or if you were there, yeah, I mean, I can't be said enough. Like, I love Genesis. I love where it's headed. I love, you know, what it can be. And the players, you know, I love the players who are playing right now, because it's just a group of awesome people who are starting to really take this game seriously. And I'm excited to see, you know, how far Eric and Ray and Ollie and how far they push us into a new direction, right? So kudos and congratulations to all of you. And I hope you have a good night.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're gonna put you into blue, but yeah, thanks.
We know what I can do if I go into blue, but no, I can't do it. I have to be the person who doesn't play blue.
The bigger person. The bigger person.
I have to be that 1 in 8 that wasn't in the blue, even if I lose. All right. Thanks again, Ray.
All right.
Have a good night, guys.
Night all.
Ben,
All right.
Alex, I'll see you every week. Bye.